Hello, humans. Question. Are the biblical accounts of Jesus' genealogy a contradiction? A critic seems to think so. Listen to his argument, and then I'll respond.
Of Matthew chapter 1, it gives a genealogy from Abraham all the way down to Jesus. And in Luke chapter 3, it gives a genealogy from Jesus all the way up to Adam. In Matthew chapter 1, it says that Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. It says here that Jacob begot Joseph, which would mean that Jacob is the father of Joseph. However, in Luke chapter 3, it says that Joseph was the son of Heli, which would mean that Heli is the father of Joseph.
Hello, mysterious commentator. So, first and foremost, your argument presupposes a closed genealogy. But are the genealogies truly closed and without gaps? Well, no. There are known gaps in the genealogies, therefore the genealogies cannot be considered closed, even from a strictly biblical point of view. Scholars have noted that even the symmetrical arrangement of Genesis chapters 5 and 11 into groups of 10 argues for their compression. Noah is the 10th name from Adam, and Terah the 10th from Noah. Each ends with a father who had 3 sons. And compression certainly seems to be the case in Matthew chapter 1, where there are 3 series of 14 with 3 generations missing. We'll get to that soon enough. In addition, the phrase other sons and daughters are found written in the genealogies of Genesis chapters 5 and 11 multiple times, implying gaps and suggesting compression. Both the Old and New Testaments have open genealogies with gaps. When you'll see this. Alright, so there's a perceived problem here. In Matthew 1:8, it is written, Joram begot Uzziah. However, 1 Chronicles 3:11 lists Joram and then his son Ahaziah. Well, which one is correct? Where there are perceived problems, there are scriptural solutions. So, Ahaziah was apparently the immediate son of Joram, and Uzziah was a distant son or descendant. Just as the word son in the Bible also means grandson, so even the term begot can be used of a father or a grandfather. In other words, begot means became the ancestor of, and the one begotten is the descendant of. Matthew, therefore, is not giving a complete chronology, but an abbreviated genealogy of Christ's ancestry. A comparison of Matthew 1:8 and 1 Chronicles 3:11-12, well, it reveals the 3 generations between Joram and Uzziah, Azariah. So, check it out. 1 Chronicles 3:11-12, right? It says, Joram, Ahaziah, Joash, Amaziah, Uzziah, also Azariah. So, look at Matthew 1:8. Joram, and then boom, 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 Uzziah. So, another perceived problem. So in 2 Kings 15:1-7, the Bible mentions the father of Jotham as Azariah, and in 2 Kings 15 verses 32 and 34, Jotham's father is named Uzziah. Now some have concluded that the Bible made a mistake by listing 2 different people as the father of Jotham, even though they're listed in the same chapter, not very far apart from each other. So did Matthew make a mistake concerning the father of Jotham in Matthew 1:9? Scriptural solution. So these are 2 different names for the same person. Okay, for different reasons, the Bible occasionally gives 2 different names for one individual. This was common. For example, Paul had also been known as Saul. And in Judges 6 verses 32 and Judges 7:1, Gideon receives the second name, Jerubbaal. Also, Jehoiakim's son, Jehoiachin, is also known as Jeconiah. Also, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were all given new names. They are Belshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Also, some of Jesus' disciples had 2 names. For example, Simon, Peter, and Lebbaeus, Thaddeus. And let's not forget that Matthew was also known as Levi. So, All right, another perceived problem. So Matthew says the generations from the captivity in Babylon until the Christ are 14 generations. However, he lists only 13 names after the captivity is counted. Well, so which is correct, 13 or 14? Well, scriptural solution, both are correct. Jeconiah is counted in both lists since he lived both before and after the captivity. So there are literally 14 names listed from the captivity in Babylon until the Christ, just as Matthew says. There are also literally 14 names listed between David and the captivity, just as Matthew claims. There is no error in the text at all. And then, another perceived problem, and this is the one that you seemed to harp on the most in your video. In Luke 3:23, Jesus had a different grandfather, Heli. Then in Matthew 1:6, it says Jacob. Which is the right one? Scriptural solution, yes. So this should be expected, since they are two different lines of ancestors, one traced through his legal father, Joseph, and the other through his actual mother, Mary. So Matthew gives the official line since he addresses Jesus' since he addresses Jesus' genealogy to Jewish concerns for the Jewish Messiah's credentials, which required that Messiah come from the seed of Abraham and the line of David. Luke, with a broader Greek or Gentile audience in view, addresses himself to their interest in Jesus as the perfect man, which was the quest of Greek thought. Thus, he traces Jesus back to the first man, Adam. And that Matthew gives Jesus' paternal genealogy and Luke his maternal genealogy is further supported by several facts. First of all, while both lines trace Christ to David, each is through a different son in David. Matthew traces Jesus through Joseph, his legal father, to David's son Solomon, the king, by whom Christ rightfully inherited the throne of David. Luke's purpose, on the other side of the same coin, is to show Christ as an actual human. So he traces Christ to David's son Nathan through his actual mother, Mary, through whom he can rightfully claim to be fully human, the Redeemer of humanity. Further, Luke does not say that he is giving Jesus' genealogy through Joseph. Rather, Luke emphasizes Jesus' virgin birth with the phrase being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, while he was actually the son of Mary. Also, that Luke would record Mary's genealogy fits with his interest as a doctor in mothers and birth, and with his emphasis on women in his gospel, which is why this Gospel of Luke has been called the Gospel for Women. And finally, the fact that the two genealogies have some names in common, such as Shealtiel and Zerubbabel, it does not prove that they are the same exact genealogy for two reasons. One, these are not uncommon names. And then further, even the same genealogy, Luke's genealogy, has a repeat of the names, Joseph and Judah. So, the two genealogies can be summarized as follows. If you follow Matthew, you'll see it goes like David, and then it goes through Solomon, and then Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, blah, 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 Jacob, right? And then Jacob, Joseph, and Mary. Mary is the legal wife, Joseph, legal father, and then Jesus. But if you follow Luke's, you'll see it from David, but it goes to Nathan, and then Mattatha, and then Menon, Meliah, Eliakim, Heli, and then through Heli, Joseph, Mary, the actual mother, Joseph, the legal husband, Jesus. Therefore, the conclusion of your argument that the Bible, the biblical accounts of Jesus' genealogy is contradictory, That's false because you began by presupposing a closed genealogy. You also failed to recognize the words begot and son as they're used throughout Scripture. In fact, Jesus was known as the Son of David because he was of the ancestral line of David, not because David was the literal father of Jesus, right? It is for this reason Jesus refuted this claim in advance when he challenged the Pharisees and what they thought they knew. It is written in Matthew 22, 41 to 46. It says, "Now while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them a question. 'What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he?' They said to him, 'The son of David.' He said to them, 'Then how does David in the Spirit call him Lord, saying, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet"? If David then calls him Lord, how is he his son?' In verse 46, no one was able to answer him a word, nor did anyone dare from that day on to ask him another question. So, you tell me, O mysterious commentator, if David calls him Lord, how is he his son? If you would spend as much time studying the Scriptures and seeking answers as you do conjuring up perceived problems and apparent contradictions, you would already have the scriptural solutions. Listen, it is written in James 1, 5 to 8, "But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But he must ask in faith without any doubting, for the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For that man ought not to expect that he will receive anything from the Lord, being a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. The Lord will give you wisdom if you genuinely seek to receive wisdom from the Lord." It is written in Matthew 7, 7 to 11. "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you who, when his son asks for a loaf, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? If you, then being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask him? So, ask. Ask the Lord in order to receive answers." The Bible is not an error. Rather, the critic's understanding of the Bible is an error.